Welcome to this explainer. Have you ever noticed how, even when you get exactly what you want, that feeling of pure satisfaction rarely actually lasts? You buy the thing, you get the promotion, you finally win the affection of that person, and for a fleeting moment, everything is perfect. But then, an inevitable void creeps right back in. Today, we're stepping into a profound, kind of cinematic philosophical inquiry into the real roots of human dissatisfaction. We're going to explore exactly why the Buddha taught that desire causes suffering. What if the biggest source of human suffering isn't pain, but the belief that we must possess something before we can be at peace? I want you to just sit with that for a second. Picture a lonely city street at night, or the glow of your phone in a totally dark room. That restless, aching feeling we so often carry, it isn't usually from physical agony. It's a psychological thirst. It's this quiet desperation whispering that we just aren't complete yet. Section 1. The Great Misunderstanding. If you ask the average person what Buddhism teaches about desire, they'll probably tell you that you have to become this emotionless robot. They think it's a demand to be completely devoid of ambition, to stop loving your family, or to abandon your personal goals. But looking at our source texts, we find that this is an extreme oversimplification. The Buddha didn't just say, hey, don't want anything. Instead, he drew a really sharp line between two vastly different psychological states. On one side, we have healthy aspiration. So this includes motivation, love, and setting goals. But on the other side, we have what's known in the ancient Pali language as tanha, or craving. Tanha literally translates to thirst. This is compulsive attachment. It's the gripping fear of loss. It's the suffocating need for possession. You see, the danger isn't in wanting to improve your life. The danger is that white-knuckled clinging that happens when you think you absolutely cannot survive without a specific outcome. Section 2. The medical diagnosis. To truly grasp this, we kind of have to look at the Buddha not as a religious dogmatist demanding blind faith, but actually as a great physician offering a clinical diagnosis of the human condition. His core teaching, the Four Noble Truths, is essentially a four-part medical model. Step 1 is identifying the symptom, which is dukkha. Step 2 is diagnosing the underlying cause, which is craving. Step 3 is the prognosis, the absolute assurance that there can be a cessation, a cure to this illness. And step 4? That's the treatment plan, known as the Eightfold Path. It's incredibly pragmatic. He's saying our existential suffering has a specific, highly treatable cause. So let's examine that symptom. What exactly is dukkha? Well, it's the mental and emotional anguish of dissatisfaction, regret, and distress brought about by fixating on things we literally cannot control. It's not just physical pain like stubbing your toe. It's that pervasive background hum of dissatisfaction. It arises when our entire foundation for happiness is built on temporary, fragile things that are basically destined to change. Section 3. The Anatomy of Craving. The Buddhist texts actually offer a highly detailed psychological breakdown of how a simple, neutral moment rapidly spirals into deep suffering. Based on the analysis of scholar Thupten Jinpa, the psychology of desire follows this incredibly rapid timeline. At 0 seconds, we have contact. Your senses just perceive an object. At 2 seconds, there's feeling, a raw, pre-emotional experience of something being either pleasant or unpleasant. But then, right around the 10-second mark, we do something disastrous. Inappropriate mentation. We start to fantasize. By the 1-minute mark, that fantasy has mutated into craving, a literal burning thirst. And finally, at 5 minutes, we reach grasping, where we take blind action to get what we want. And you know what's crazy? Habituation, doing this over and over, speeds this timeline up until it feels completely instantaneous. At the very center of this is a critical concept: inappropriate mentation. This is the dangerous bridge where simple feeling transforms into toxic craving. It's the act of projecting and exaggerating. When you see something you want, you don't just see it as it is, right? Your mind starts spinning a whole story. You attribute this unrealistic, almost magical ability to an object or person, convincing yourself that acquiring it will finally and permanently solve your internal emptiness. The ancient texts use this striking, visceral metaphor to describe the results of all that fantasizing. Caught by the noose of craving, bound by the long rope. It perfectly evokes that exact feeling of entrapment. Once you're hooked by that exaggerated fantasy, you lose your agency. You're just dragged along by a long, inescapable rope of your own compulsions. Section 4. Craving in Modern Life. Now, the Buddha obviously didn't have a smartphone, but the psychological trap he described maps perfectly onto the relentless demands and anxieties of our modern consumerist world.
Modern Tanya manifests in so many relatable ways, seeking endless social media validation, obsessing over a career to the point where your entire identity is chained to your success, clinging so tightly to a romantic partner out of a fear of rejection that you actually smother the relationship, or simply doom scrolling and constantly comparing your life to others, feeling this compulsive need to just acquire more stuff. This is the long rope of craving playing out in real time.
Section 5. Ambition without attachment. This is where we really need to address a persistent misconception. The idea that pursuing success, enjoying a relationship, or loving someone is inherently wrong. It's not. As the translator Bhikkhu Sujato points out in his notes on the ancient texts, not all desire causes suffering, for some kinds of desire lead out of suffering. Wanting to heal, wanting to improve the world, wanting to connect deeply with others, these are healthy aspirations. The distinction lies entirely in how you hold that desire. Do you hold it with an open hand, or do you crush it with a clenched fist? The crucial takeaway here is this. The problem isn't wanting. The problem is needing. When you want something, you can pursue it with joy and, crucially, let it go if it doesn't work out. But when you need it to define your worth, to justify your existence, or to secure your peace of mind, well, that is exactly when craving gives birth to suffering.
Section 6. The middle wedding.
So what's the treatment for all this? It's the Noble Eightfold Path. It's a practical, step-by-step treatment plan designed to weaken our reactive habits. It's a middle way that completely rejects both total sensual indulgence on one side and extreme painful asceticism on the other. It's all about developing the wisdom, ethics, and mental discipline to see reality clearly, which brings us to a core principle. Do not allow temporary things to become the foundation of your identity, peace, or happiness. The goal of this teaching isn't to force you to abandon your life, your relationships, or your passions. No way. The goal is to cultivate an unshakable liberation of the mind. It's about being able to genuinely enjoy the beauty of the world without being completely destroyed when that beauty inevitably fades or changes. As we close out this explainer, I want you to genuinely reflect on this. Will you continue to chain your peace of mind to what you possess, or will you find freedom in the present moment? Look closely at the areas of your life where you feel the most anxiety and stress, and I guarantee you'll find the long rope of craving tangled up right there. Recognizing that rope is the very first step to finally cutting yourself loose. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I really encourage you to keep exploring this profound middle way.